On the show today, we meet the beautiful, multi-talented Sonali Bendre Behan.
My doctor told me 30% chance of survival. So there was no running away from it. It was there in front of me.
Who shares her inspirational journey of battling cancer.
Air has been such a huge part. It was like literally my bread butter jam.
And switching on her sunshine.
And I said, this is it. I'm done with self-pity. It's not going to get me anywhere. I accept it. And let's take it from here.
Today we have a guest who's really inspirational in many more ways than one. She's an amazing mom, an amazing wife, an amazing entrepreneur, the founder of a book club, a fantastic actress, a superstar, and she's a survivor of cancer. She's also extremely inspirational in being a great friend. And we've got the beautiful, lovely Sonali Bendre Behan.
I love my intro. Thank you. My God. You've made me sound so amazing.
But
I wish I was half as amazing as you've made me sound. But
no,
yeah.
You really are so amazing. I have to say, I've always been an admirer. And I think over the last year, I have to say that almost every single post of yours made me feel like an immense feeling of warmth. Is there something within you that keeps you very positive, or do you have a sort of...
No, I definitely have my struggles with not being positive all the time. In fact, today was one of those days when it was a real struggle in the morning to kind of keep that thing going. But I suppose that's natural. You cannot be in one frame of mind all the time. That's not normal.
Absolutely.
And so the ups and downs are going to be there. And the point is to identify the down and pick yourself out of it as quickly as you can.
But that's such a great way of looking at things. I find that so often one in a hurry to get a negative thought or anything that makes you feel a little low out, you kind of immediately do something to change that.
Well, this was something that I followed through my career because also you know it and you know how our career can be so unpredictable. There are days when the whole world is at your feet and you have all the jobs in the world and then suddenly sitting at home and there is nothing and it makes you insecure and everything. So that has been my way of coping with it, and I think that kind of helped me through last year also.
Yeah. Now coming to last year, and another thing that I've read in, researching you is how you say that you don't want cancer survivor to be a badge that you carry around everywhere. And I think that's such a great statement because I think one tends to forget, in knowing that someone's overcome something so big, you don't want that to define you. There's so much to you. So I don't want to spend the whole chat on that. But
thank you.
I would like to just know a little bit, whatever you're comfortable to share on how you felt, how you came to know that was what was happening.
Well, it was definitely a shock.
Yeah.
Most unexpected. I was definitely one of those who always said that this is not going to happen to me. Yeah, it happens to somebody. So you really don't expect that to happen to you or to anybody close to you also, and forget yourself. So also I think what happened was that by the time we came to know, it was pretty late. I was at 4th stage and it had spread all over. With the shock, there was the scare, and that whole process there was just no time to think. It was like we needed to move and take an action at once.
Yeah.
So my husband was very clear he wanted to take me out, and I was just not ready. I didn't want to leave home and, my child and my dog and everything and go. And I didn't know when I would be coming back, if I was coming back, what was going to be the thing. It was just so up in the air, everything. Yeah. I had a few of my friends whom I had called and my team, and I just told them that, look, this is what has happened. Because obviously I was in the middle of a shoot at that point of time. And maybe initially at the first moment I thought that it could be a smaller process and we could finish it and come back, but the next day and the day after, as we did more tests, we realized that it had spread everywhere. And once I came face to face with the fact that it was 4th stage, literally we were out in 4 days.
I remember that. I remember reading it, and then you were...
Yeah, I remember having this argument with him all through our flight and when we landed there and everything. And I went there, and when the doctor just told me the way it was. My doctor told me 30% chance of survival kind of a zone, and they were very blunt about it. So in that I factored in, I said, what, probably they're so scared of getting sued and the whole process is so different that maybe they might exaggerate it. So even if they're saying 30%, maybe it's a 50% chance, but still the odds were pretty thing, and they were very sure about it. I wanted to sock the doctor at that time. I wanted to just kind of whack him and say that what the hell. Yeah. There was no running away from it. It was there in front of me. I turned around to Goldie and I said, I'm sorry. I fought with you all this while, but I'm so glad you got me here.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my statement to him.
Yeah.
And that night, I think when I sat in that hotel room was the night when it was like I was beginning to process it. I didn't sleep the whole night. I think I wept, I cried, why me? All those things happened. I was sitting at a window and I remember the sun was rising. And I clicked that picture and I sent it to my friends and said, new day, new beginnings. I'm going to switch on my sunshine. And that's where the hashtag switch on the sunshine started from. And I said, this is it. Yeah. I'm done with self-pity. It's not going to get me anywhere. If this is it, I accept it. I'm sure there's something for me to learn from here. And let's take it from here. So that's the way it kind of started. But
that's incredible.
And post that, family, friends, everybody just kind of came in and it was so amazing, I think in a way I learned how much I was loved, and till today I'm so grateful for all that love. Sorry.
No, I know. I'm also like, it's extremely touching.
Every time I think I'm over it, and now it doesn't, but every time I kind of talk about that time, it just comes back. So I suppose I'm not completely over it.
No, I think, what you just said, it's interesting what makes you so emotional in terms of tears, because even I'm feeling it. I think the strange thing is that when you're faced with a crisis, somehow there's an adrenaline and a strength that comes that makes you move forward. So as you said, those first 4 days, even I felt it, but I didn't feel those tears right now. But then the minute you said when you process it and you realize the support, that's very moving, because as a mother also, for you to have left Ranveer at home and to have that on your mind as well, that must have been really hard.
So he was on a trip at that point of time and hadn't told him, and that was also the reason why I just waited for him to come to me before I put it out, because you know how somebody would tell him. I didn't want him to hear it and be scared when he was not near us. So that was also a really beautiful process, because he came to us, we shared it with him and we told him this is what is happening, and then we put the post out.
I think I read somewhere Ranveer actually said we'll get through this together.
Actually what happened was that when Ranveer landed and before he could come and see me, I hadn't shaved my head at that point of time yet. I hadn't even gone for the haircut because I was waiting for him to come and I wanted him to see me the way it was and explain it to him. So when Goldie picked him up and when he was in the car and he told him, Ranveer is asthmatic. So when he told him what it was, and Ranveer just took out his pump and took the thing, and then he said, Goldie said, do you understand what I'm saying? He said, yeah, Papa, I know what you're saying. Mama and me read a book together and I realized there's going to be a lot of change and it's going to be very difficult for the family. And I didn't realize some 3-4 years back we had read a book, and I think in the book there were 2 siblings, and the older sibling who was closer to Ranveer's age was dealing with his younger sibling going through that. You know how amazing books are, that these stories can teach you so much more than any sort of education.
That's something incredible about kids. I find they sometimes are great sources of strength.
They're very resilient.
Absolutely. I remember when my father passed away, of course our kids were very little then, but their whole approach is practicality. I think perhaps they have different ways of dealing with things and taking it in. Absolutely.
Coming up, because of a close-up of one of the hair oil ad, I got my offers for movies. So for me, hair has been such a huge part. I mean, for everybody it is, but it was like literally my bread butter jam.
So I am so thrilled that you're so well. Honestly, and the way you shared, this whole show is about inspirational people who are using their platforms to bring about positive change. And I think it's incredible how much strength people get, and even information. To be honest, when I read your post, that's when I started reading up what
metastatic cancer will spread everywhere. Honestly, I didn't think I would be inspiring people or anything of that sort. Quite frankly, it was just my way of dealing with it myself. When we put the post out, I was in the middle of a show and I was going to disappear. I didn't want any gossip around it. It was just my way of informing that this is what it is, so I'm not going to be here. This is not expected. It's happened. We're going to deal with it. I think what really opened my eyes to what was happening was the fact that the kind of response we got for that. I mean, I remember saying that I didn't know this was so common. I didn't know it was so prevalent. I said, after all the exposure and the education and the understanding, I thought cancer happens rarely. I remember thinking in my head, I don't know if I mentioned it, there was a time when I said it's like a bloody flu.
It is, and honestly, I'm somebody who, by nature, I'm quite a worrier, but when faced with crisis, I find that I become quite calm. Every time I, hear that and read that and see that, I also see that there's such an amazing complete recovery rate. And
Absolutely.
The fact is that
Absolutely.
people need to get away from the stigma of the word and the fear.
Yeah.
And I think people like you are doing that.
Probably for me, that would have been the last post.
But it started
But because it started that, I just said that, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
not taking it in a whiny way where I'm going to be feeling sorry for myself. That's not me. So what is it that I'm feeling? I'm going to be as truthful as I can be without actually putting some IV pictures and all that.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly and I didn't want to do that. So I
But
felt
it's a
like I
source of
owed
strength.
it to others to kind of just talk about it and to let it be known, and it's fine. I mean, not having the hair, yes, it was very difficult because I built my entire career on that. I mean, I've done every hair product possible. You won't believe it, my first film that came to me was because of a close-up of one of the hair oil ads. It was because of that close-up that I got my offers for movies. So for me, hair has been such a huge part. I mean, for everybody it is, but it was like literally my bread butter jam. you know? So yeah,
That must have been really hard. That
it was.
shave.
Yes, it was.
But I love that post of you going to have your hair cut.
Yeah,
and
that
very
was before it
cool
falls
and-
off. I said, might as well try out,
Yeah.
and we did that. So we did 2 haircuts, and it was literally coming out in clumps. Yes, I was waiting for one more friend of mine to come. Both my sisters were there, and the plan was that we will go and shave my head and open a bottle of champagne, and have a few sips because I'm allowed a few sips. So I was going to do that, and we were going to celebrate kind of just the liberation of it, kind of a zone. But I must say, all that was just a plan. Eventually, it was a very typical, very, very typical scene. It was coming out in clumps, and I had a meltdown in my shower and took the razor and shaved it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that. It was a meltdown,
Yeah,
yes.
but honestly, as I said, unbelievable the way you're not just bounced back, but do you think you're like a different person? Do you think this whole experience has changed you in a very profound way, or do you think you're still that same Sonali?
No, of course it has changed me. I would be lying if I said it didn't change me. I mean, something like this has to change you. But having said that, I must say that yesterday was 1 year from the time I came back from the US. And I must say that as human beings, we start falling back into old patterns very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think when I talk like this or when I go in for certain talks, it's difficult because at the end of the day, when I go to bed and you relive it, and it's painful when you relive it. I'm not denying that. But it also keeps me in touch because, you start forgetting and falling into old patterns. And every time I discuss it, it reminds me and I say, no, falling into old patterns.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, take on the challenges head on. I mean, I don't procrastinate about things that are uncomfortable anymore.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. And now to move away from the topic, because I know you didn't want to make it only about this, or rather that's the way I interpreted it. But then,
Yeah.
it's something that is so moving and touching
Yes.
that it's impossible not to. But I have been reading
Oh my God.
The Modern Gurukul, yeah, and it's really excellent. And it's strange because a lot of the stuff you say about things you've been through and being able to deal with challenge and
Yeah.
focusing on,
I
staying
think I
positive.
kind of used it here.
Yeah,
used
it's
it in my
interesting. So it
journey.
was obviously your philosophies for life,
Yeah.
which you've applied for the obstacles you've been through.
So at that point, can I just say one more thing? That if you've read the book, you will realize that there is a lot of me which is a certain way. And that's why when a lot of people tell you that, oh, it's the negativity that you're holding inside and everything, it's completely not the
myth.
right thing. It's a myth
Absolutely.
because it doesn't cause the disease. I was never that person. And here is a
I read
memoir,
that.
literally. As that journey went on, I mean, we are going back to it. I know when we were trying to move away, but it just reminds me, I think it's a very important point.
Yeah.
When I would actually think that, why is it that I'm not feeling so sad? Why am I not like shattered? And there were times when I would say that, oh, it's such a lovely day. And I was actually very happy.
Yeah.
And then I actually questioned my happiness, saying that, am I putting on an act of happiness and am I pushing my depression? Am I digging it in deeper by doing that?
I think as your psychologist you went to see in America
Yes,
said to you,
I
right?
did.
You can't blame yourself. You haven't done anything.
So I actually went to a psychiatrist, and what you have are onco-psychiatrists who help you, and the caregivers need a lot of help also and counseling.
Yeah.
You know, he actually started laughing after he'd heard everything out, and he said, "This is you, and you're handling it, and you're processing it in a certain way. But it's okay. What you're terming as happiness is actually what I would call joyfulness.
Yeah.
And if you can live with this joyfulness all through your life, this is what people aim for." I said, "Oh, okay,
Yeah, well
great."
done. That's amazing. And was Goldie as joyful? How was
No, he was more stressed.
Yeah.
Having said that, he would come and go. So there were times when I know that I would take that extra painkiller when I knew Goldie would be coming, because I didn't want to be, low and tired and achy. Oh, he's coming back after 2 weeks. I want to be able to go out in the park and walk with him.
Yeah.
So, I would take on, maybe that was a performance or whatever you would call it. I don't know what you would call that. But it got me through.
Coming up.
Early detection saves lives. Cancer is genetic. If it is there in your family, get the genetic testing done. If you can test it and if you catch it at an early stage, it's so curable.
That's a huge thing, to have a very supportive
Yeah,
spouse,
oh my
partner,
God, yes.
Goldie, your
Friends, my
your
parents,
sister,
my
your
sisters.
sister-in-law.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
My sisters by blood, my sisters by relationship, by marriage, my sisters, my
yeah.
soul sisters. They were all there for me, yes.
I remember meeting them at a birthday party when you weren't
When
there.
I was,
yeah. And it was so sweet, because I think by nature I get, we all feel, but it had been really bothering me, and so I didn't even know if I should go up to Ranveer and say anything, because I didn't want him to think some mad person is just coming and talking to me like that. But he was so sweet. I messaged you then, and he was so well behaved and all. I mean, our kids are younger, so he must have wondered, but I didn't want to make it like a heavy thing. But I just said, how are you, and talked about school and all that. Goldie was there, and I said, Mom, how's she doing? And all. He said, she's going to be fine, she's fine. Then he just told me all about his school and what he was doing, and it was so sweet. I don't know, it just made me realize that people come
the way
together.
He dealt with him. Well, I would say that I'm much more easier with Ranveer now than I ever was. Though I remember telling Goldie, I said, Goldie, I know he's going to be okay. The way he has dealt with this, you know what? Success and how do you describe it? It's different for everybody. What can be success for me might not be for you.
Absolutely.
And money comes, money goes, fame comes, fame goes. I said, I just know that he will be a good human being and he's going to be okay. As a parent, I realized that when I became a parent, I also started becoming fearful. I used to be quite fearless before that. I said, Goldie, one thing we have to promise each other, that we are going to be fearless from here on.
Yeah.
And if you could have dealt with this, we are going to be fearless.
Absolutely.
So 1 year down the line, we do remind ourselves that did we not say, because life is always giving you choices.
Yeah.
So now when you look at it, we say, what do we do? So listen, we decided to be fearless.
Yeah.
So that's the choice we make then.
No, that's amazing. And honestly, you're spreading so much joy to so many people. You're sharing. I think people are getting a lot of inspiration, even if you modestly say that they're not. I think
it helps me. Let me put it that way.
It helps a lot of people. I like to believe that we're in a world which is way more empathetic and aware and sensitive to things. You've done so much. You've had so much learning. Do you feel sometimes that you're now sort of saintly in terms of knowing, or do you feel you're always learning and you're
I
always
think my
growing?
journey has started now. Because till now I have been in survival mode in that sense.
Yeah.
When you're in a survival mode, you're constantly on alert and you're constantly looking for, okay, now what now? I'm learning how to calm down and be okay with, even if there is nothing really happening, and just to be.
Yeah, just to be. Yeah.
It's not easy to just be.
Yeah.
Couple of other things that I think much more clear about in my head. When you are a known face, there's always that pressure of doing this and doing that and supporting this and supporting that, and there are just too many causes.
I agree.
And we all get so overwhelmed with it. And I realize that when you get overwhelmed with things, you're not helping yourself, you're not helping the cause.
Absolutely.
I understand one thing at this point of time, and that is to not hide what I'm going through, because it is helping others understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
And also, the message that early detection saves lives is the biggest message, and that doesn't need so much of funding and an NGO. Cancer is genetic. If it is there in your family, get the genetic testing done, because if you can test it and if you catch it at an early stage, it's so curable.
Right.
It's not a problem at all then. It is, yes, the whole process is difficult, but a lot of difficulties do happen, but it's not like it's not going to end
yeah,
your life.
absolutely.
And the other thing is also my belief in human beings kind of became really strong after this, because I was not in a country where I was known, and yet there were random, complete strangers who could figure out what I was going through and would go out of their way to help or make that moment easier for me.
Yeah.
And that just told me human nature is to help.
Yes.
To love.
Yeah.
And we really go against our nature and when we are hating on people. So to say.
Absolutely. That's so touching and so important what you've just said, because I think there is a tendency to feel that, oh, if I'm supporting this or if I'm put my face to this, then I'm doing something. But if I'm not, maybe I'm not. But actually, everyone can help in a different way. Yeah. And like you said about success or happiness, it's subjective. What it means to different people is different. And you are doing so much by raising awareness for something which is so...
I don't think I'm doing so much, because I also feel that it makes me feel good. What I've understood is that it all boils down to self-love. The moment you can give yourself the love, you're going to spread the love. And also what I realize it's the drop that's important. I don't want the whole lake or the ocean or the river. I just want that one drop. And it's enough to just be the drop. I don't want to be more than that.
So lovely. And I would love to keep on chatting, considering we said that this would be a small part of the chat, but we have time constraints.
Okay.
So here is a little Hershey's happiness hamper.
Looks heavy.
It is heavy. But it's a happiness hamper for you, sharing all your happiness.
Thank you so much.
And
the goodies.
yes, and there's another gift.
And here's a kit from Byju's The Learning app. It contains a personalized learning program specially crafted as per the student's syllabus. We'll be donating it to a student in need.
Organization you work with where it can be given?
I actually do quite a lot with Cancer Patients Aid Association, as in I run for them for the marathon. So maybe we could ask them.
Definitely.
That would be lovely. Such a lovely chat. Thank you.
We are in Christmas colors.
Yeah, so let's say Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Happy New Year!
Next week, we meet the captain of the Indian football team, the amazing Sunil Chhetri.
I see my country trying to do well in all the sports. We are 1.3 billion people. We have 99 problems, but having people to play different sports is not one of them.
We also meet his supportive wife, Sonam.
One of the fans wrote, "Don't come to the matches, he's not scoring."
Family never distract their own person. I would want him to go and give his best.
Absolutely.
And some enthusiastic little footballers get an opportunity to interact with Captain Fantastic.
So whenever you are a captain, you do something, think how you're going to feel if you are that player.
Why people call you Captain Fantastic?
पता नहीं, जब मिलूंगा पूछूंगा.
Because he's fantastic.